You're welcome back to the Pulse, and you can get interactive with us on our social media platforms, on X, on Facebook, on myjoyonline.com, and of course on YouTube. This is the Pulse right here on JoyNews. Now, the Court of Appeal has struck out an application by Reverend Kusi Boateng, praying the court to overturn a High Court decision that dismissed his application to restrain North-Torn MP Samuel-Okudzeto Ablakwa from discussing him in relation to the National Cathedral project. This will be the third attempt by Secretary to the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral to get a favorable outcome from the court. Delivering the ruling Wednesday morning, that's today, the panel of 3 judges contended that the application by Reverend Kusi Boateng did not comply with the rules of the court. My colleague Latif Idris was in court. So Latif, you're welcome. So yesterday, we provided a background.
Yeah.
There was issue about who was going to sit first. Let's talk about the panel today.
Yeah. So the same panel sat, and so...
When you say the same, including the one who excused himself and was not seen again?
No.
Or the new one that was introduced?
Oh, okay. So, so the new panel without Justice Demefe was the one that sat today. And so they had to then give a ruling on that objection by Thaddeus Sori from yesterday when he said the panel that has been reconstituted
was unfair,
unconstitutional, and then would not deliver fair hearing for his
and the ruling was what? The application was baseless?
It was dismissed. And because according to the panel, Thaddeus Sori failed to give real reasons why he finds this panel, unconstitutional to begin with, and the fact that they were not going to endure fair hearing for his client. So they
dismissed the application. So how did they come to this decision today?
Yeah, so the decision by the Court of Appeal to strike out Reverend Kusi Boateng's application of contempt against the North-Torn MP, simply based on the procedure and the rules at the Court of Appeal. In their judgments, they said the appellant, that is Reverend Kusi Boateng, when he came to the Court of Appeal, he stated in his claim that the trial judge at the High Court who dismissed his application erred when he delivered that ruling, making the point that he didn't put the required weight on the evidence they provided to the court when he dismissed his case. So that is the case he brought to the Court of Appeal. In their ruling, the Court of Appeal says that he failed to point out exactly the wrong that the High Court judge made, and that's resulted in him reaching that conclusion of dismissing his case. That is part of the rules of the Court of Appeal, that if you say a judge has erred, you have to point out exactly what he did that you think is erroneous. In this case, according to the panel,
there was nothing like that.
They failed in that regard. So they described the application as incompetent and struck it out.
Completely. And then?
So there is a twist to this whole thing.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So when Reverend Kusi Boateng filed the application at the Court of Appeal, Okudzeto was quick enough to follow him there to file his own application, asking the same court to dismiss it. So the court had already made a determination, and they're going to announce a ruling on that initial application by Reverend Kusi Boateng. But Reverend Kusi Boateng's lawyers were also quick to go back to the court and say, we want to file additional grounds because we don't believe in what the High Court judge did. We think he erred. We want to file additional grounds to make our case at the Court of Appeal. By then, the Court of Appeal had already taken the decision that they were going to deliver their ruling on the initial application they presented. So today's ruling was based on the first application by lawyers for Reverend Kusi Boateng, which the panel said today that they didn't point out exactly
anything wrong done by the previous
judge. So in my mind, I'm thinking they are now going to add those to this one, to the one they've already presented to the court, so that they will get a favorable outcome next time when the Court of Appeal is expected to come up with yet another determination on the same matter.
All right. And then you got a reaction from Okudzeto Ablakwa?
Yes, so Okudzeto Ablakwa is worried, essentially. He says he's a member of parliament. He was performing his oversight responsibility as a member of parliament. And then he came across someone who had double identity. Monies were being transferred here and there, and he raised it up. And now he's the one rather paying the price. Because according to him, Reverend Kusi Boateng has never showed up at the Court of Appeal. But he is always there. But he has other works to do in Parliament, and he finds that it is unfair that the system is treating him this way.
We are glad that the appeal on the contempt case has been dismissed by the appeals court. It appears that this is the only country where somebody who has engaged in a double identity scam will be wasting the time of members of parliament who are carrying out their constitutional mandate of oversight. That's all we are doing. That's all we are doing. And is this a fair price to pay for carrying out your constitutional mandate? And have you noticed that he never comes to court? He never comes to court. We have work to do. We have parliament to go to. We have parliamentary committees. We have our constituents to take care of. We have other constitutional obligations as members of parliament. And he keeps filing appeals upon appeals upon appeals when the matters are very clear. You have lost in the lower courts. Judges have been very, very decisive in their decisions. We were only carrying out our mandate to scrutinize expenditures of the National Cathedral project, and we discovered payments made in another name, only to find out that it is the same person, Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, Kwabena Edu Jemfi. And we have adduced evidence to that effect. We have not been mischievous, we have not been malicious, we are only carrying out our constitutional mandate. Unless people think that we are elected to go to parliament and be a rubber stamp, whatever state institutions bring to us, we don't scrutinize, we don't do due diligence, and we allow payments to go through. So that is what we are elected to do. That is what the Constitution says we should do. We do our job, and we are subjected to all of this harassment. We are being impeded from carrying out our work as members of parliament. It is clearly an unfair price to pay. And even though you may think that we should be happy today because this first appeal has been dismissed, remember that he has another appeal on the human rights case where the Human Rights Court held that he cannot claim that I have violated his right to privacy. We will have to come back here for that matter. I mean, this is somebody who clearly is out to just frustrate us and to put impediments in our way to prevent us from continuously carrying out our constitutional mandate of oversight. It is not a fair price to pay. We should be allowed to do our job, especially when it has been proven by the courts of our country that we were not malicious, we didn't fabricate, we didn't concoct, we only did a diligent, fair, thorough job.
And as the Member of Parliament for North Town in the Volta region, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. So, Lati, before you go, tomorrow Thursday, there's a case in court?
Yeah, so tomorrow Thursday, Richard Japa will go back into the witness box to be cross-examined by state prosecutors on the ongoing ambulance.
I thought they concluded that last week, the cross-examination.
No, it wasn't concluded.
Okay.
So the state still has a couple of hours to go.
Okay. Latif Idris is our court correspondent.